It all began within the towering walls of the palace, a symbol of tradition, silence, and centuries-old secrets. On the surface, everything appeared regal, but under the moonlight, shadows told a different story. Alone on the balcony, Meghan stood still, dressed in elegance but consumed by turmoil. Her back to the palace, her gaze toward freedom. In that moment, she wasn't just a duchess. She was a woman plotting her escape. In the dark corners of luxury, whispers became plans. A single phone call, to Netflix. This wasn't just a conversation, it was a negotiation that would shake the foundations of monarchy and media. A piece of paper. A signature. $100 million. The deal wasn't just lucrative, it was revolutionary. Royal storytelling would now be owned by Hollywood. In a sleek LA studio, hands were shaken behind closed doors. A royal couple turned producers. The spotlight had shifted, no longer on crowns, but on cameras. A royal crown lay beside scripts and cash, the ultimate symbol of transition. What once ruled nations now sold subscriptions. Inside the palace, silence grew heavy. An aging king stared out at a world changing too quickly. He had lost a son, and the crown was losing control. The dinner table, once filled with airs and elegance, now felt cold. The crown sat untouched. Family ties, quietly unraveling. A handwritten letter, elegant and sharp. Only 5 words, "This is a betrayal." No need for names, the message was clear. The Spotify deal was meant to redefine their legacy. But as the studio gathered dust, so did the promise. Glamour faded into silence. Then came the headlines, bold, brutal, and unforgiving. Grifters, one paper asked. The narrative was no longer theirs to control. Overwhelmed and outplayed, Meghan sat still in the storm. Surrounded by opinions, by judgments, by everything except peace. Brothers stood face to face in golden halls. But this wasn't reconciliation, it was a warning. William, the heir. Harry, the exile. A queen lay fallen on a chessboard. The king remained, guarded by a knight. A game of power and sacrifice. The elite gathered. Laughter echoed. But Meghan and Harry watched from afar, uninvited. Fame, they learned, doesn't always equal friendship. Then came the memoir. Spare, a story of wounds, wars, and words that could never be unsaid. Each page a dagger. Each sentence a rupture. Flashes. Questions. No answers. The media circus returned, louder, messier, and more ruthless than ever. The palace stood in the rain, once a symbol of strength, now a relic in a storm. The crown had survived wars, scandals, but could it survive this? California, oceans, mansions, and peace. Yet even here, in paradise, the shadows of the past followed closely behind. They shared a home, but not always a silence. Love had freed them, but at what cost? The portrait was once whole. A family together. Now, torn. Not by distance, but by decisions. In the end, it all came down to a choice, the crown or the cash. One gave them power. The other gave them freedom. As the sun set and the royal gates closed behind them, history was rewritten. Not with swords, but with signatures. So now we ask, was it freedom they claimed, or a betrayal that will echo through generations?